Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Photoshop tips and tricks, and today we have another one that's not a request or a question. It's from me, one that I actually wanted to share with you as I think is a very good tutorial. It's a pretty big involved one. It's one of the more beefier tutorials that I've done, but I want to explain it to you the best I can in the most simplest form so that you understand it. And that is color tinting. Adding color, artificial color, to a black and white image. Now, let me make myself clear. This is not the same as selective color. Now, in last week's episode, we did selective color. Well, that is taking a color image that's color already and turning it into black and white and then adding the spots of the image that you want back in color. So that data is already there. You're just painting it back in. This is not the same. This is a lot more involved and it takes a lot longer. This is a black and white image that you could scan from your old photo albums. There's never been color on this image. It was an original black and white image and it still is. So there's no data on it. So how the heck do you turn these old rustic black and white images into color? Well, it's similar how Hollywood does with the movies, with Technicolor. But what happens is that you're going to use your best judgment. You're going to do a little background checking. You're going to do some looking up as far as colors. Now, I have color books here. I have color swatch books. I use a lot of websites for specific colors that will work with different things. This is really trial and error. You're going to be building a color palette. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be switching through blend modes. You're going to be switching through opacity sliders. It's really something that you have to play around with. Each image is going to be different. I'm going to show you, this is an example. This is my grandmother when she was like 17. This is a very old image. And I did this for her one day for her birthday, and she just loved it. It really came out phenomenal. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the finished product. Of course, we can't complete this again. It would take too long. So I'm going to show you the steps. I'm going to give you enough knowledge where you can go off on your own and start your own project. And then I'm going to show you this finished. So this is adding color to a black and white image. So completely different than selective color. This is starting from scratch. So what we have here is we have our background layer. Okay, we're going to Command Control, and we are going to make a duplicate of that. Okay? Now, once we have that, what we're going to do is we are going to do new layer. Now, what I like to do is I like to stay organized. Not everybody does this. You can pick a color. It doesn't matter what color. We're going to do yellow, and then I'm going to name the layer. So what's the first thing that you think that we could do with this image? Well, one of the hardest colors is flesh. So we're going to do skin tones. And we're going to label it skin tones, and we're going to hit OK. Everything stays defaulted for now. Okay? So we have our skin tones layer here. So that's everything that's going to be done as far as the flesh and the skin. Now, just to make a note, and I advise this if you can, to use pen tablets. I'm using a Wacom bamboo tablet today. It's the smaller version of the tablet. It's got pressure sensitivity and makes things a lot easier, especially when you're really getting involved and you're getting into certain hard to reach areas and you're doing a lot of painting and brushing as opposed to using a mouse. It's very useful, especially when doing this. So as you see, we made a new layer with skin tones. We're going to make another layer, okay? And we're going to do new layer, and we're going to do background. We're going to pick a color, doesn't matter what color. Pick red. That's just the color of the layer, so you know. So start to start a system. You know, color code your layers, label your layers. Believe me, it may seem like a lot of work in the beginning, but let me tell you something right now. When you start doing these color tinting projects, you're going to end up with a load of layers, depending on the complexity of your image. I mean, you got to remember, every single thing is going to have a separate channel, a separate color layer. So you're going to start really building layers. You can even start doing folders and groups. But for this purpose, we're just going to show you some organization, so to speak. So we got our skin tones, we got our background. Now, I'm not going to continue doing this, but I'm going to give you an example of how I finished this, okay? So you would go to the image and you would say, okay, the next thing is eyes. So you would do a new layer for eyes. The next thing is hair. You would do a new layer for hair. Actually, we'll do another one here. We'll do dress. Okay, we're going to do dress. Okay, all this here. These are all separate colors. Let's pick a color for the layer. Remember, it's not the actual dress color. It's just the layer. I'm trying to keep organized. You would do blanket, or this curtain here, whatever this is. You would do hair. You would do lips. You would do makeup. Let's actually do that. Okay, maybe for the cheeks. We'll just do violet. Okay, so there we have our layers. Now that we have our layers and all our separate color channels of each specific object, nose, hair, eyes, whatever, background, dress, we're going to go to skin tones. What you're going to do is you're going to use a brush. You're going to use a soft brush. Okay? Now, unlike selective coloring, which we did in the past, this is not the same. Again, I want to make it very clear to you. What we're going to have to do is we're going to actually have to do a little bit of thinking here. Now, like I said before in the beginning of the tutorial, I have books on color swatches and on color palettes. Photoshop uses a color range code. I'm going to explain that to you. You're not going to know off the top of your head what colors are going to work or what colors won't work. You could mess around with colors, but in certain circumstances like skin, you want to be specific, okay? And you don't know what the colors were back in the day. When I did this image for my grandmother, I didn't know what color dress she had. I didn't know what kind of red, makeup she had on her face, what color her eyes, what color the background was. So what I did was I did a little research, and I actually talked to my grandmother before I did this project, and I says, do you remember what the colors were? And then once I found out what the colors were, I kind of did a little bit of estimating. Now, for skin, what I did was I used a website that I use, and these are skin tone charts. Okay? Now, as you can see here, what I did was I picked the third one. I found this one to be the best. And don't forget, you're not subjected to this. Once you pick it, you can tweak this. Okay? So, I'm going to show you what to do. We're going to double click on our pick layer here. Okay? Now, this is already saved because I did this already, but it's 228, 185, 142. Let's look on that palette. So, it's 228, 185, 142. So we picked one of these, and when I put those numbers in the color chart here, and it gave me exactly this color. Of course, we could tweak this, we could lighten it, we could darken it once we have that range. But I kept it the same as it was on the color chart. Okay, so these are very useful charts, especially when it comes to a specific color like skin tone. So I said okay. Now we have our color set for the skin. Now here's what happens. I'm going to select a soft brush. I'm going to use the bracket keys to mess with my brush size. Once I have the size brush I want to start using, watch what happens. I start painting. And of course you would take your time and actually go through this. Now look what's happening. Looks terrible. We got the correct color, but this looks so pasted on and fake. Of course it does. So why is that? A couple reasons. Blending modes. It's on the normal default blending mode. What you want to use for this, I find the best, is color. Now watch what happens. Look at that. But there's more. You don't want this to look fake. So what do you do about that? Well, so it's not so up in your face and vibrant, you mess with the opacity. Look at this. Now, of course, this is all acquired to taste, and it all depends on the type of image that you're working on. So, each color is going to be a different opacity. For skin, I may like it around 70%. I may like it around 80%. Let's keep it there. And of course, you would take your time and you would use your bracket keys and select the correct brush. And look at this. Once you've got the blending mode and opacity that you like, you can start actually really getting intricate with this and really starting to take your time here and paint. And really look at this. Look how amazing this is. This is crazy technology here. We're starting to get some crazy stuff here. Like I said, it all depends on how long you want to take with this image. You want to fine tune it. Like I said, you want to do your research. You want to start looking at some of these color palettes. I have books on color palettes, but as you can see, I did some websites, and you can always get color ranges and color codes for certain things, for certain colors. So in this instance, I searched for skin tones, but I actually have a book just on skin tones and exactly the reason why you would want to use that. So look at this. So as you can see, you can really go crazy here. Okay, now, then of course you would do is you would go to the makeup layer and see, once you have the skin tone layer on its own layer, you could go on and off and you can see your progress. And everything is on a separate layer, so everything could be fine-tuned. So if you need to make adjustments, you could go back to that layer and make your adjustments without working off of a flattened image. So PSD, Photoshop files are very important for this kind of work. So again, you would go to the next layer. You would go to makeup. I don't know, maybe a nice red makeup or a pink or something. Again, make your brush very soft. Maybe do the cheeks. Okay, your blending mode, color. Okay. Your opacity, maybe bring that really way down. Look at that. Look at that. See? Now watch. Before, after. You're bringing some life into the image. You got to really start being creative here. And like I said, do some background information. I was doing my grandmother, so of course I know what color her eyes are. But what color hair did she have then? What color dress was she wearing? What was the background? And if she doesn't really remember, of course, how could you? You do your best judgment, and you could pick colors that you think would work. Pick a nice background, pick a nice dress color, and definitely really add some life into this image. So now you know how to do that. I am going to show you what the finished product is. And again, you can turn these layers off. See? You put your skin tone on, you put your makeup on. Let's see real quickly here, a dress color. I'm going to do this really fast. Of course, you would take your time and do this correctly. Okay. Switch it to color. Like I said, mess with the blending modes. Look at that. And then, of course, opacity. Look at that. Okay? Finished product. Let's see it. Okay, as you can see, I have all my layers here. We have lips, we have eyes, we have cheeks, which is the makeup, we have flesh, we have pillow, we have wall, we have dress, and we have the original background. So let's turn these on individually. We did our dress, we did our wall, kind of like a gray. We did our pillow, like a pink. We did our flesh. We did our cheeks. We did our eyes. And we did our lips. Look at that. That's the finished product. Tell me how cool that is. I mean, come on. Could you imagine, if you think about it, the endless opportunities that you could do with this? And just a simple matter of making layers and painting and, like I said, taking the time and finding out what colors work. I'll be honest, some of these colors were just, hit and miss. But some colors, like the skin tones, I actually found decent color tones for with the color charts. Same with the eyes. It depends also what color modes you use. It depends on the opacity. Now, I used color mode on all of these, but look at the opacity. For the lips, we used 28. For the eyes, we used 56. For the flesh, we used 80. So it's going to completely depend on the color in the part of the object that you're working on. The more time you spend on it, the better, of course, it will look. And this is our finished product. And this is turning a black and white image into color using color tinting and artificial coloring. Something that wasn't in the image that you added. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a bit lengthy. Definitely try this out. Rummage through your old albums. Find some old photos. Scan them. Now, also, mind you that when I did this, this image actually was a wreck. I don't have the original image, but this was all bent in half. We had seams, we had dust, we had scratches, and we had cracks. I had to actually photo retouch this before, so that may actually happen. Her face was destroyed. I had to take hours and hours of photo retouching to rebuild her face, to rebuild her skin, to rebuild the edges, to fix the seams and the creases and the dust. So that's another tutorial that I'm going to get to in the future, photo retouching. But so you may have a lot of work ahead of you. You may not just take a black and white image and then make it into color. You may have to fix it first. Don't forget, we're talking about really old images here. I mean, this image is very old. So you're restoring the image, and plus you're adding the color back to it. Something that I find that a lot of clients hire me for, that they really, really enjoy, that they like, and they see my work and they bring me tons of pictures, and then I turn them into color. But like I said, it's not just that, it's also restoring them too, because a lot of times the images are in really bad shape. So I want you guys to try this. Let me know how you like the tutorial. There's a lot more coming. Stay tuned to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.